Hello and welcome to the Freakcast. My name is Stephen Carroll, and I guess I'm the head freak. And tonight's guest is Jessica Winchester, and it's going to be a great story. You don't want to miss it. So hang on, join in with us. We're glad that you're here.
There's no air in this room. I'm somewhere, lost my shoes. In this mind, you will see who you're really gonna be. Hollowed out, filled with sin. Keeping watch, I don't pretend. Feelings throw you to the ground. Pick it up and spin around. Stay true, I don't wanna be here in this room. Stay true, I don't wanna be here in this room.
All right. Welcome to the Freakcast. My name is Stephen Carroll, and I'm glad you joined with us. If you're joining in live, welcome. And if you are listening back later or watching back later, we're thankful that you did that. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button on YouTube if you haven't done that already. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or iTunes, subscribe to us there as well. And if you don't mind, give us a review. Give us 5 stars. It helps us out a lot as we try to reach out to people and share stories of everyday people just like you that do extraordinary things. And the whole purpose of the Freakcast is for people to have a forum to share their story, because every story matters. So if you know somebody that you feel like would be a great story for us to share, DM us or email us at steven@fightlikeafreak.com, and I would love to have them on as well. So we are really glad you joined in. I always tell people that we are all about sharing stories, and I share there's a verse for you guys that I'm not sure. I don't tell people what to believe, but I know what I believe. And this verse in Revelation talks about how that they overcame the enemy by the power of the blood and the word of their testimony. In other words, their story. And it's our stories that make such an impact in other people's lives. All of us know how somebody has impacted our life, and some story has impacted our life. And so here recently, I guess this past weekend, Carl Weathers, I think is his name, he passed away. And man, when he, just seeing pictures of him and remember when I was a kid, and the movie Rocky and all these things impact our lives. And we can go back to a certain time and place where we begin to see certain things, remember certain things. And hopefully it's that way like this on the Freakcast. It's our stories that we share, our stories that will not only encourage and inspire us, but hopefully give us a forum that you can share with other people that may be going through some of the things that our guests have experienced. And you can let them hear a different perspective and let them know, number one, that they're not alone, and that they can overcome whatever it is they're facing, no matter how difficult it may be. So thanks for joining in tonight. We're so glad you're a part of what we're doing. And again, make sure you share it with other people. Tonight's guest is Jessica Winchester, and Jessica is an amazing lady that I had the chance to meet. We'll get into that in a second, but I want to bring her on here and welcome her to the Freakcast. Here she is. Hey, Jessica, how are you?
Hey, good, thanks.
Good. Thank you for being on here with us today and tonight, or whatever. I guess it's day right now, but I always say tonight. But thanks for being on here with us.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So we met. I remember the first time that I ever saw you. You had a mohawk, and you were talking to my wife Donna. It was at it used to be a place here in town that had a gym, and I can't remember the name of that place.
It's like the sports center or something.
Sports center, yeah, something like that. Our kids would go in there, but they had like a little workout place there that I would go because it was cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you teach classes there.
Yeah, I taught a little bit.
I can remember, but I remember seeing you talking to Donna, and I can't remember. I guess our friend Tracy introduced her to you.
Yeah.
Or you to her. Is that right?
Yeah, Tracy brought Donna to Tracy's training to start working out up there.
Well, that's right. Tracy's training. Yeah. Wow, I forgot. So how long ago was it? That was like
2014, 15.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
We've known you guys for almost a decade. That's
Yeah.
insane. Well, what's cool about it is I know this. Donna, my wife, loves yoga, and she loves yoga because of Jessica. Donna had never done anything like that before, and so whenever and Donna's always been real limber anyway, but whenever she found what you're doing, I tell you, man, you don't want to get in Donna's way when she's headed to yoga. If she is going to yoga, she doesn't want to miss it, and she gets irate if she get if you if you get in her way or if something comes between it because she loves coming to your what you do. It's amazing, and she definitely loves you and loves being a part of what you're doing. So I guess thank you. You've been an impact not just in her life but our family's life.
Well, I mean, you guys have the same for us as well. So,
Yeah. Well, we appreciate it. And I think too, also one thing, just from a personal perspective, just the fact that, of course, your husband Curtis. Let me show you guys that are watching. This is Jessica and Curtis right here. And which puppy is this?
Brinley.
Brindley. That's the new one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not so new anymore. She'll be 2 in May.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What kind of dog is that? A Scotty?
Mini
Is it
Schnauzer.
mini Schnauzer? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I always think Scottish because they always remind me of an old Scottish man or something like that.
Scottish, they're German.
Yeah. They are German. I didn't realize that.
Yep.
Anyway, but Curtis and this picture is not, but right after I got diagnosed with multiple myeloma, um, Jessica and Curtis were just so encouraging to us, and I think it was the Saturday after um, I got diagnosed. They were just trying to process everything, and they reached out to us, and they have a boat, and we got to go out on their boat and just kind of hang out for the day. And I was still in such a whirlwind. I think mentally, I wasn't sure what was going on, but throughout everything, whether it was health and just fitness and nutrition and essential oils or food or whatever, you guys have been such a and have and are such an impact. So thank you for doing that for us too. It's meant a lot to me, and I know it's meant a lot to Donna. She's been able to have a lot of conversations with you, um, over the last year and a half. So I think too that's the thing I love, and we'll get into this in a minute. But I think that's what I love about what you do and how you do it because, and you and Curtis both, you just kind of open your lives up to people, and you literally have opened up your home to your yoga studio, and so it's made a big impact. So I just want to tell you that because sometimes we get away and we don't get to say the things we really feel, and so before we started, I want to tell you that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, well. So Jessica, tell me your story a little bit. So Jessica, I don't want to tell it, but you were diagnosed with diabetes. And how old were you when you found out that you had type 1 diabetes?
I was 8.
So you're 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of tell us how it all, as far as like, when you're finding that out and you're a kid, you're 8 years old. And then just kind of from 8 years old, how it began to, how you move forward with all that. What did you do? And I don't know, just kind of what took place in your life a little bit.
Um, so I had lost a whole bunch of weight. I was eating everything in sight, and my uncle, I guess it was a birthday party, my uncle told my mom, "You need to go get her checked for diabetes." So sure enough, had it checked, and I was type 1 diabetic. Back then, it was so much different. Like there wasn't testing equipment, there wasn't insulin pumps or anything like that. So it was a lot of staying at Children's Medical Center and learning how to eat, how they wanted me to eat, um, and how to take insulin shots and all that kind of stuff. And I
Hmm.
just remember going home, and then my mom came at me with a insulin shot, and I was like, "What are you doing? I'm home now. We're not doing the shots. That was the hospital." And then, as an 8-year-old, not being able to wrap my mind around the fact that that was my life now.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously it was impactful because I still, can close my eyes and see that in my mind.
Yeah.
So
Well,
anyway,
you never think about that either, like from that perspective, because you're a kid and you're having to change everything, you know, and
yeah,
you're just trying to be a kid. And
yeah,
like that story by itself is kind of interesting because mom's coming at you with a needle. What are you doing?
yeah, yeah. We're not the hospital.
Yeah,
Yeah, no more. Having to count carbs. Like, what kid does that? Um,
right.
Not being able to have ice cream and candy and all the things that kids usually like to eat. So yeah, it was a whole different way of looking at stuff. And again, back then, it wasn't the way we were taught wasn't how how they do it now, because it makes sense that you wouldn't tell a kid what they can't have, but instead you would tell them what they still can have. Just keeping it more positive. But it went back to when I was diagnosed, it was, you can't have this, you can't do this, this, and this. You're probably only going to live to be 15. It was
Oh
just,
my gosh.
yeah, it was very doom and gloom. And I think my mom has mental issues anyway,
Yeah.
and not a very large capacity um, for stress and things like that. She was always mentally and physically abusive. So that did not stop just because I was diagnosed a type 1 diabetic. And then eventually she just kind of, and my dad worked all the time, so he wasn't there. He provided for the family financially. But my mom just kind of closed off. And so before I was even 9 years old, I was responsible for injecting my insulin, drawing it up, checking my blood sugar, all that kind of stuff.
Wow. I never knew that. So basically, you just became kind of independently having to take care of your health and watching everything about it. You have to learn all that as a 9 year old or before 9 year olds.
Right. Yeah.
And so, like whenever you're as a kid, you're battling, one having to take care of yourself, which you shouldn't have had to do as much, and not being critical, but you're having to navigate all that. That's a lot,
Well,
and then you're having to navigate. Go
is
ahead.
I think my mom was there more than what I am remembering. But this is my perspective as an 8, 9 year old.
I got you.
You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? Because
yeah,
when I say these things to my mom, she's very, I helped you. I was there. You know what I mean? So this is my
right,
perspective. That's how it felt to me. Um,
right.
and I just remember having to draw the insulin. In her defense, I'm sure she wanted me to be independent, and
Mm,
if something ever happened to her, for me to be able to take care of myself. But
yeah,
as a kid, again, you don't look at it that way. You just feel like it's thrown at you, and you're not ready for that. You're not mature enough for that yet.
yeah. Well, and that makes sense. I mean, because she's battling her own things,
Exactly.
and at the same time, she has this your daughter who obviously she loves and wants to be a part of your life and help, but there's a
Hmm.
lot going on, and so yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense because our
Yeah.
perspective is a lot in the middle of everything,
Right.
as well. So how did it move? How did it progress from there as far as like from 8 and 9, just kind of moving forward? Because that's a lot. You can't have ice cream. I
Yeah.
think it's cool, like what you said too. Like nowadays, it's not so much about what you can't have as much as what you can have, and
Yeah.
redirecting focus.
Yeah, and they didn't have a lot of options back then. They had sugar-free ice cream. I think they had just started coming out with different candies. It tasted horrible. It was nasty, but it again, at least it was something. Um,
Right.
and I remember my dad, like for birthdays, because they didn't have sugar-free cake or anything, but they had sugar-free pudding. So my dad would make me for my birthday a pudding pie, and that would be my birthday cake.
Oh
So
wow.
he would go, I remember things like that. Like that, dad would try to cook healthier meals. He would say, we wanted hamburger helper. No, you can't have hamburger helper. Do you see all this sugar in here? So he was the one that really kind of emphasized, we have to count sugar, even though it's not a candy bar. These foods still have sugar in them. So he kind of took on that role too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So then time went on. I got older and so much more smart, real smart. And
Yeah.
uh, I just began to just dislike being different. And in my perspective, everyone, knew that I was different. Um, Kids at school would make fun of me, and it just felt so life ending. I'd have to, like, just again, things that they know now they didn't know then. So if I had high blood sugar, they would make me walk the school, like do circles around the school trying to bring my blood sugar down, because I had ketones and stuff. Well, now they know if you have ketones, you don't want to do that, because being active actually takes the ketones up because they feed on oxygen. So if you're walking around creating more oxygen in the blood, you're taking those ketones and you're raising them up. So anyway, so I would just feel so dumb. Here I am with my head down walking through the school and people are laughing and stuff. So it just felt so isolating and just the end of the world.
Yeah.
Again, a 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old kid. So then I started to try to kill myself. I would try to overdose on my insulin. I would try to not take my insulin. And I just didn't. I didn't want to deal with all of what I was dealing with at home, what I was dealing with at school, what I was dealing with in my own mind. It was just a lot. It felt too much. And I didn't feel like I had anybody to talk to, any kind of support or anything like that. So,
Wow. I never I'd heard, Donna, just mentioned certain things about that. But so you're 10, 11, 12 years old in that age group, and
mhm,
that's what you're feeling.
right.
And like the whole, that's crazy. I never knew that. Did you have anybody to talk to, or did you, as far as like when, I mean, I guess these attempts to
I never told
actually,
anybody about me that I was trying to kill myself. So usually it came across as, oh, she's a brittle juvenile diabetic and it's hard to control this. She's in DKA, not ever saying, well, actually, I didn't take insulin, or, actually, I tried to overdose on insulin, so it was stuff like that. And then, of course, when you go to the hospital, they just say, are you overeating? Are you sneaking candy in your bedroom? All of the normal stuff that they usually uh, think you're doing. I guess it never, at least back then, they never thought that I was trying to hurt myself.
oh, okay. So they basically didn't, so this is mentally, you're thinking, this is what I'm trying to do, but then outwardly it's just showing up as,
Yeah, I just shut it down. I think it was my cry for help. Now, again, now I'm older, and just
sure.
trying to look back and understand the child that I was. It was a cry for help when I didn't know how or who to ask for help. My grandmother was very, very supportive, but I didn't look at it as support. I looked at it as her trying to tell me what to do, because she'd always get on to me. You need to check your blood sugar. Come on. And actually, she wouldn't tell me. She'd be like, "We're checking your blood sugar." She'd grab my finger and she would take me to the bathroom. She would be giving my shots. So it was polar opposite of what I was living at home. And so I rebelled against that too. I didn't know what to do with that. But she really, I think my grandmother, out of all the people, I think she saw me the most. Like
Yeah.
I was reaching out, that I was asking for help.
Yeah. And I think, and at that level, I think everybody can attest to the fact that one is such a hard age anyway. Here you are, whether you're a girl, guy, whatever, you go through these periods of change. You're changing
Mhm.
physically, going from becoming a kid to a teenager, and there's so many changes going on in your body. But then I think from my perspective, it's just, so often, when and I think it's so good, like for parents that have kids that are that are different, or had, when I say different, I hate to use that word, but that have different challenges, in their life, whether it be physical or mental or, whatever it may be. It's just hard. And so like in your case, having this diabetes that seems like such a massive thing in your mind, and then you feel this, you feel this isolation, you feel like I'm different, and so the smallest little thing, it becomes amplified, and so you're struggling with all that, and it's just a lot. And so you have your grandma's voice, I guess, in your life saying, hey, you know what, do this, in a caring tone, even that came across as being negative, in
Right.
your mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when I talk to people now an adult, they'll be like, "I didn't even know you had diabetes." Or they
Really?
would say, "Oh yeah, I get like when I did my I think it was 20-year class reunion, I had people come up to me, I didn't even know you were a diabetic, or I knew you were a diabetic, but I didn't really know what that meant because my grandfather was a type 2 and I knew he just couldn't eat sugar." So again, people's are what we know about certain things is only what's been presented to us in our lives. Some of us have never known a diabetic, some of us know a lot. Very seldomly do we know a type 1. It's usually a type 2. I do think type 1 is on the rise. I see a lot more numbers nowadays for whatever reason. I'm not sure, but
Right.
I know at least back then there, because people would come up to me and look at me and go, "You're not that fat. How are you diabetic?" And I was like, "Oh God, not that fat." But again, they didn't mean it to be mean.
I
It
just
was
didn't know.
innocent, just like a kid. When you have yellow teeth as an adult, why are your teeth so yellow? It's just very innocent. They're just wondering, or they're just like,
Yeah.
"You're not that fat. Like, what's going on?" So, yeah, you try to have thick skin. My skin is not that thick. I'm very sensitive. So when people would say things like that, I would just take it so personal. Um,
Yeah.
I'm better now. Obviously, I've matured since I was a teenager and stuff. But it's just so crazy of just remembering what my perspective was. I'm the only one in the world suffering through this, and everybody knows, and they think they're making fun of me, they hate me, whatever. And then you know turn around 20 years later and realize they didn't even know.
Isn't that crazy? Like you're at a reunion and people are like, the people you thought were making fun of you or that whatever, and I'm sure there were situations that were that just kids being kids,
Right, exactly.
and but then you get there and you're like, these people didn't even know that you had diabetes in the first
Yeah,
place,
yeah.
and you're sitting there dwelling on it because you're afraid of it. I mean, and I can relate to that so much in my own life. So much. I think they said 90% of what you worry about never even comes true or didn't even happen,
Right,
and because our minds are so powerful, and we can lose. We can think whatever we want to think, and it can impact us in so many ways. And then here you are later in life, and you're like, huh, how'd you? I mean, walking away from that. I mean, you may have already known that, but that was kind of revealing, I guess. Just kind of think back to what all that you worried about and what wasn't really true.
right. Well, and I need to do that in my adult life because I can get caught up in my thoughts again and create this whole scenario in this whole world. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
it's not useful. I'm not helping anybody. I'm certainly not helping myself. So just kind of, if just saying this out loud, just reliving this is kind of making me think, oh my gosh, Jessica, you are still doing those things on a different level with
yeah,
different things, but it's just the mind is just so crazy. It's like we can fill it with God, or we can fill it with, um, I guess, the opposite of that, which would be Satan or just dark thoughts or whatever.
right, yeah.
But
Well, I
then,
think that's too. Go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, I think that was Satan trying to break me down, because I think God always had a plan, just like He does for each of us.
Yeah,
Um, and I think too, when we have to go through these things, it's chiseling us away to give us compassion, or the ability to have compassion and empathy for people that not necessarily are going through the same thing, but we all go through something.
that's right.
It opens our eyes, to stop looking inside and start, looking and seeing that we're all suffering with something.
Yeah. I always say in my case, one of the things that I've always said was I was thankful for who I was becoming before I was diagnosed,
Mhm,
because it was foundational for who I would become, after I was
mhm,
diagnosed. But in
mhm,
your case, you're a kid, right? And so you're 8 years old, and so really, that statement applying to you would be like, the family of origin and all the things that you had to battle and all these things and your personality and all this stuff was still forming and developing, as you kind of grew.
mhm.
And so that was a lot for a kid, to take in, and you're having to kind of, regroup and all that's kind of you're learning that on the fly because here you have this disease or this, this. what do you call it? I guess it is a disease
Yeah.
um, that you're having to battle and learn about so that you can survive physically, literally. And so, that makes it even harder, I think. And so for you, it's like that statement would be, who you were becoming and the choices that you made after you
Mhm.
found out because you were still developing all those things. Um, so it's a pretty unique perspective. What do you tell, like, have you had a chance to talk to kids that, that find out they're type 1 diabetics now? Or like, I
No,
guess even,
yeah, I've tried to put myself out there, like on my Facebook page, and just say,
yeah,
because there's a week or a day. You know how there's a day for everything. There's a type 1 juvenile
yeah,
diabetes awareness month or something,
yeah,
and of just like if you have a type 1 that you want a mentor, you want somebody that's walked in their shoes. If you want to do yoga for diabetes, anything
yeah,
is open to that, because I felt again so alone and isolated. And like we have friends that live right down the street, and they have two daughters that both got diagnosed one after the other with type 1.
wow,
And so we've reached out to them, if you ever want to talk, if there's not that I know everything, but
yeah,
I at least know how it feels to just feel like you're so different. And again, we have to speak life into these kids, because I was spoken to like I was already dead. You'll never have kids, you'll never get married, you'll never all of these things. If you live to be 15, you'll be lucky. So i never I never looked to the future. I just played it one day at a time. And I didn't
golly.
care of myself, because why would I take care of myself? I'm not going to live past 15. What good? I mean, might as well enjoy. Not that I enjoyed it, but might as well just not.
So you literally were told that you were told you may not live past, you won't live past
What
15?
doctors tell my mom, um,
Yeah.
and all that stuff, and I was
So
just
yeah, you're in the room while they're having this discussion, so you're hearing everything. So they're basically talking about you and about your condition while you're in the room?
yes, yes.
That's crazy.
And like I would, was told again, we lost our business because of your diabetes, because it's so expensive and time consuming. Like I hated myself. Like, if you want me to be completely honest, I hated myself. I was taking time away from both of my sisters, money out of mom and dad's pocket. My insulin was expensive. I was sick. I was sick.
Yeah.
It wasn't until later that I learned, again, through Christ and through the practice of yoga, which I always say yoga union, connecting God with my body, my mind, my spirit. And he just kept whispering to me, "You do not have diabetes. You are not broken. The flesh has diabetes, but you don't." And so
Yeah.
looking at myself like that, it was like a aha moment. And even if I died at 15 or 20 or 120, if I'm living my life fully as a non-broken person, you know what I mean? As a
Yeah.
person that is not a diabetic, the body has diabetes and whatever, but I don't.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of been, it's taken a long time. I think I finally realized that when I was 40.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that was, and here we are talking about when you were 11 and 12. I
Yeah.
think that's so powerful, Jessica. I mean, honestly, and I appreciate you sharing that, all of this from the standpoint of like anybody that hopefully that maybe we can share this with and that someone that can listen to that has a child. Of course, there's, like you said, there's seems to be so much more awareness of that now, but at the same time, the feelings that you felt as a kid, as a young girl,
Mhm.
having to navigate all that, there's no way that kids today don't still feel that, and even the
But
things that you just shared, like how that what you felt about what you took away from your sisters and what you took away from your parents and even what you, sometimes heard, unfortunately, um, I think that is massive what you just said, that so many young girls, even young boys that are battling this disease can learn so much from what you just said.
yeah. Yeah, and just knowing that, don't let anything that disability, illness, disease, stop you from being 100% you and living the greatest life possible, because
Right.
none of us are guaranteed tomorrow, you know.
Right.
So, and I think that's just what I have to remind myself is, yes, I get tired easily because of different health stuff, because not taking care of myself in my earlier years caused me to go blind. I was temporarily blind, both eyes hemorrhaged. Um, and it was when I started taking care of myself that it happened. So I felt like,
No.
oh my gosh, God, why are you doing this to me? I'm taking care of myself and now I'm going to go blind. I just met this amazing man in my life, who Curtis. And now
Right.
I'm going to go blind. He's going to dump me, And so I was talking to the doctors, and they're like, this happened because you didn't take care of yourself. Your veins were weakened. So you started taking care of yourself. The blood started moving better. You got better circulation, but the veins in the eye couldn't handle it. So they hemorrhaged, and they filled with blood. So therefore blindness. Um, and then but it was just divinely, um, I don't know how to say it. It was definitely God, because, like I said, I knew Chris was going to dump me. Well, he didn't. He took care of me. Um,
Yeah.
how lucky that I found somebody like that.
And
Um,
when was that in the timeline too? Like from like
that
when you go from 12 to your teenage years. I mean,
yeah,
kind of feeling where's that at?
I was 27.
Okay. So
Um,
from like 12 to 27, what was that journey like to when
um,
you get to that point?
a lot of drugs, trying to escape, not taking care of myself, still trying to kill myself. I finally stopped trying to kill myself when I was about 20. I guess I was about 23. And then I started to, work out at the gym, but I still didn't really connect. I had pushed God away. Like, I was mad at God. So I was just kind of on autopilot, go to the gym, go to work. Um, uh, and so I'm trying to remember what happened. Um, I think it's when I lost my vision at 27, 28. That
Wow.
um and it's so crazy because I had somebody say, "You're like Amazing Grace." I was once blind and now I see.
Oh
Well, it took
yeah.
me to go blind before I really saw.
Oh
I
wow.
had to go within myself, and all, I just remember being so scared. I'm never going to see again. My life is over. And God just kept whispering, and just like, I just felt his presence just wash over me. You're going to be fine. Chill, calm down. I'm
Yeah.
here. Um, and him telling me it's not over. I have big plans for you. Um, and one time, and I forgot, between that time when I had tried to kill myself, I was in DKA, which is diabetic ketoacidosis, where you've got really high ketones and
Yeah.
pretty much in a coma. And I could hear them speaking about me, and they were like, "She's not going to make it. Everything is shutting down. We can't get her to wake up. All this stuff." And I felt again a presence, almost like they sat next to me, and just this warmth. And again, he told me, he said, it's not your time. I've got more
Yeah.
to you." And I just felt this warmth wash over me. And then I woke up. But I still didn't learn my lesson. I still didn't learn to love myself.
Yeah.
Um, but then, like I said, when I went blind, I was mad at myself for the way I'd treated this body. Um, I was afraid I was never going to see again. But again, he just kept speaking to me. And that's when he led me to a dietitian and a whole way of looking at life. And then that's where yoga came in, and just fitness and loving this body, because this is a gift, despite whatever I don't, is not necessarily perfect. And then working out and eating healthy because I do love myself, not because I hate the way I am. So that was
Yeah.
a wake up call as well.
What's funny too is I say funny, but what's interesting is that there's never a time that, like, even while I'm talking to you now, hearing the backstory of everything that you went through, and I think anybody listening to this, whether a teenager, young adult, or whatever the case may be, like you said earlier, we all have something that we face. It's just a matter of sometimes we have physical things like you experienced that will definitely limit your lifetime
Hmm.
if you don't address whatever's going on, and I love the fact like when you're in the DKA or when you're in that moment and you can still hear what's going on, you're still aware of what's going on and just feeling God's presence as you described it and just saying, look, you know what, I'm here, this is the direction that we're going to go or we can go, it's your choice.
Hmm.
But every time I'm around you and I hear it, and even now getting to do this, it's good for me because I'm always challenged when I'm around you. And that's so funny because like when you're in your 20s, you wouldn't have never thought that you'd be in a position where you would challenge somebody else probably to do something positive, right?
Yeah,
And here you are, every time I'm around you and Curtis, you're always looking for ways, to take care of yourself physically. And of course, Donna, obviously, my wife loves that. She loves every minute of it. We talk more about that. But I just want to, that's cool. What a turnaround. And I think that's exactly what you felt God sharing with you and speaking to you is, I've got a purpose. And definitely in our community and in our world and with our friends and those kind of things and the people we've been connected with to see the transformation, and to see that you did come to that point, um, where you were physically blind, you couldn't see,
hmm
and that was a direct result of you not taking care of yourself. And then all of a sudden he said, you know what, I am going to, and you came to that point. How long were you blind, or how long did that happen before you were able to see again?
Um, so I both eyes hemorrhaged. The right eye cleared pretty much within 6 weeks, 8 weeks. I still have floaters, so like when I move my eye, I have little floater things.
Yeah.
My left eye never cleared, so they had to go in and do what they call a vitrectomy. Well, so they go in and they suck out the blood.
Yeah.
When they did that, it got a gram positive infection. So they were able to remove the blood, and I don't have like floaters, but the optic nerve got really damaged. So I pretty much am blind still in the left eye.
Oh wow.
Um, I can see like shapes and stuff, but that's about it.
Okay.
So if like
And you
if they do the letter test, I can see the big E, but then certain letters as you get smaller will be cut out. Like I'll only see
yeah.
parts of them. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, and you don't think about the effects of diabetes and how it can affect you. Of course, you hear the extreme stories from time to time, but I think,
I always think not me, and because that
yeah,
was always what I said. Ugh, I'm not. My kidneys are fine. My eyesight is fine, and it was almost. I don't want to say. You know how people say, "Well, I can't really believe God would do that to you," or whatever, and it's kind of like, "Well, why not? Why not me?" And we have free will, and I made those decisions, and so that is the repercussions of the choices I made. And so I think then I was mad at God again, but then I had to remember what I just said. I chose not to take care of myself. There are repercussions for the choices we make, but I can be a victim or I can be a warrior. And so that's
yeah,
where I think that warrior mindset came in.
yeah, I love it. So whenever you get, at some point when you're, as far as you start getting your sight back, that's when you kind of get to the dietitian. You kind of begin to make
No,
these changes, in your life
it didn't
and
happen
introduce to
yet.
yoga.
Believe me, it didn't happen yet. If you can believe that is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I started going through gastro like issues where I felt like somebody was stabbing me, and I was bedridden for 3 years after that. So
Really? I didn't know that.
yeah,
So
because
is this picture that I'm gonna throw up too, and you can kind of talk about it. Is this the picture? Is this you at that time when all this was going on?
yes, so that was 2012. It was a picture before my friend's wedding.
Yeah.
Um, I was about 30 pounds heavier. But a lot of people don't realize there's a difference in having weight from fat and then having weight from inflammation. And I think a lot of mine was inflammation because it came off really fast as soon
Yeah.
as I started to make those lifestyle different choices or whatever
Right.
changes. But yeah, but before that, I was bedridden for about 3 years, where all I felt like doing was because I couldn't hold food down. Like I said, I had all the pain. My mind was real foggy. Went to all
Huh.
kinds of doctors. They couldn't figure anything out. And then one day again, God stepped in again, talked to my neighbor, and she's like, "Have you ever tested for celiac?" And I'm like, "I've never heard of that." So I call my doctor. "Did you test me for celiac?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, we did. You don't have it." So me thinking, okay, well that's the end of it. So my neighbor's like, "You might get off gluten, and then you might get off dairy, and see how that makes you feel." And literally, as soon as I cut the dairy or the gluten, within probably a week, I started to feel better. And with a month, it was amazing. So then I was like, well, I'm going to cut the dairy too and see what happens. And it was, like I said, that 30 pounds came right off just by doing that. And my arms were real like puffy and stuff, and all that started to go down. I didn't have the pain anymore. And they had put me on all kinds of prescriptions, like prescriptions that caused Parkinson's was a side effect, like all this scary stuff. And I'm like, I can't take this stuff,
Yeah.
because the doctors, they don't tell you there's a difference in being sensitive to something and being allergic to something.
Right.
So, and not nothing against them, they're not taught that.
Right.
So
That's crazy. So that picture, so you're all that the weight and everything was you feel like was from the inflammation, and so
yeah,
during
because
that time, is that picture after you had been bedridden and you're kind of starting to make the change at that point?
no, I still hadn't made the changes. I could smile and come out of, the house for very short times, but then all the way home, Curtis would have to pull over because I'd be vomiting. I
Wow.
aspirated and almost died a couple of times. Uh,
Yeah.
my poor neighbor had to come over and try to revive. I mean, I've got some crazy stories. It's just, you know,
Now, were you and Curtis married at this time, or
yes,
y'all were y'all together?
we got married in '09
Okay.
or no, '08, and this all this stuff started happening pretty much from '09 through 2012.
Wow. And so, and during that time, that you mentioned him a while ago, just about, of course, for me, having someone in your life that is there to support you through what you're facing.
Mhm.
Um, and so he was there, and I remember you saying a while ago that you were thinking, well, he wasn't going to stay with you, and he wasn't going to be with you, and all this kind of stuff. But yet, he stayed, and you have your neighbor speaking into your life, and it's like these people are positioned divinely in our lives to help us, through to get us to the place where we have the opportunity to change things.
Right.
And just knowing Curtis, I mean, he's, you know, I love Curtis obviously, but it's just good to have somebody like that in your life that will support you through what you're facing and that God gives us, you know.
My grandma introduced us.
Really?
Yep, I remember she called me, and I had some deadbeat boyfriend at the time, and she's like, "Whenever you break up with him, I have this cute little Spanish boy that I want to introduce you to." And I'm Spanish boy, is he like blonde with blue eyes and dark skin? Like he is just so precious. His wife, she left him and she took all his furniture. I just think you should meet him. Okay, grandma. So yeah, she it was again just like how what a divine, interaction, or I don't know the right words to say, but just what a
Right.
scent to have
Yeah.
your grandma, because I hadn't spoken to my grandma in years because of family issues. But I found my grandma again. I love my grandma so much. Like she was just everything to me. And then she introduces me to Curtis right before I go blind, and he stays with me. He gets me through that, and we weren't married either. Um,
Yeah.
he let me move into our home because I lost my job, and I couldn't, so there I couldn't pay for my rent and stuff at my apartment. And again, it was just like, where do you find people like that?
Yeah.
But I did.
Yeah. And this is Curtis. I think we shared. Did we share this earlier?
Yeah, you should at the first.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just think that's cool, and I think just that whole, and I just believe everything lines up. There's not a word in the Hebrew language for coincidence. So many people are talking about coincidence, but I just believe that that through all that we face, I don't believe that God does this stuff to us. I believe this is just part of, we live in a structure that is, not perfect. And there, like you said there earlier, there's just things that happen, and then you have these questions. I think it's been so good for me to do this deal as you're sharing your story. I'm like, this story needs to be told. I mean, this is something that is powerful because here's a lady that has gone through so much, and as a child you get this diagnosis that you can't control. It just happens because of whatever reason, and it's type 1, right? So it's something that's you have as a kid. It's not like it's later onset because of things that you've made, choices you've made, and then you're having to go through all this stuff and navigate, depression and discouragement and feeling like you're an outcast and feeling like nobody cares, and family issues and all this stuff. And you just work, just keep moving forward and surviving the not feeling like life's worth living,
Mm-hmm.
and just knowing who you are today, which is what I really want you to share more about too as we move forward, is and how you have gotten here. It's just inspirational to us, and it's been good for us and our family, and not just Don and I, but even our kids have been impacted by your story. And I think anybody listening or watching this podcast and can hear this, and I hope, and I don't hope, I know that it's something that can make such an impact. I can't wait to share this, but because I just think there's so much here, in relationships, and then having Curtis that stood beside you and you guys together, and just and everything that you were told that would be, and obviously, um, the negative things like she's not going to live, she's not going to have children, she's not going to do this, she's not going to do this, and all this kind of craziness in life, um, and then here you are, you lost your sight, but then you start regaining it, and you just start moving a choice. You make a choice. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna do. You find this lady who tells you about the changing your diet, and then that begins to impact you. And and the last thing I'll say, that I won't let you talk. I want you to share that, but I think that so often in all of our lives we have truth and people that tell us things, and we have to listen first of all, and then even after you were told this, your doctor is like, no, you don't have that. But then you're like, well, you know what? I'm going to try. What's it going to hurt?
Mm-hmm.
And so you made the decision and you started feeling better. And at the end of the day, you said this earlier, it just comes down to choice, a decision
Mm-hmm.
of what am I going to do? And anyway, and look at the impact it made. I mean, on your life.
Yep. But just difference in night and day. Because when I was going through when I was bedridden like that, I honestly thought I was going to die. I wanted to die again. I didn't
Yeah.
want to kill myself, but I was in so much pain,
I can't imagine.
miserable, and so young. Like I was in my early 30s,
Yeah.
you know, pretty much newly married. And at that time, I thought I would still be able to have kids. Um, that changed later because I had to have a hysterectomy and we never had children. But again, I think it's all a divinely orchestrated thing because if I had children, I wouldn't have time to do what I do now.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, I could make time, but I'd wear myself out, that's for sure. But I have, like, my time is dedicated to helping other people. And I help other people by trying to help myself. And that's, something else I've been reading this book. Let's see, what is it called? Your Divine Fingerprint. And
Oh,
he's
wow.
he's talking about, you know, we don't lead people by standing, on a pulpit. You need to do this, you need to do that. We lead by doing, by showing, as an example, and being there, not to lift myself up, but to lift them up. And then in lifting others up, I also lift myself up.
Oh, wow. Man, that's so good. I just posted that. Who's that by? Who wrote that?
Um, Keith Craft, he's got a
Yeah.
church in uh oh, where is that at? Frisco.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, like what you said, it's like, you lead others by leading yourself, and doing the things that you need to do. And you've done such a good job at that. So, so after the blindness deal, and you kind of start, you shift the diet deal, and you quit eating the gluten,
Mhm.
which would be help everybody, right? um,
Yeah, whether you're
and
allergic or
yeah,
sensitive, yeah, it's good to cut it out.
Yeah, because it's just that gluten and sugar. I mean, gosh, I've got to refocus my diet. This is even talking to you is like I'm sitting there going, and every time I run into you, I'm like, I know I need to change that and get it back to normal,
You know,
or get back to my new normal.
look at me and say that, and they'll look at me, and I don't say anything, and they're like, "Yes, I've been drinking alcohol and eating dairy and gluten and sugar. Leave me alone." And I'm like, I didn't even say anything. And I'm like, is that a God thing? Like, almost like I'm just some judge walking up to him.
No, I don't think it's a judge. I don't think it's a judgment deal. I think it's the fact that you. I don't think I know. It's the fact that whenever you're around somebody that that's a. I hate to use the word conviction, because that's such an overused word, but I think it's more about awareness. I
Mhm.
think that's a good word. There's a great book by a guy named Anthony DeMello, and it's called Awareness. But it's like that, whenever you're around someone that has made changes in their life that have made such a big impact, or they're making decisions that you look at and there's things that you need to be doing in those areas too. There's nothing bad about that. I think it's awesome. So I don't think it's judgment at all. I just think because you don't do that. I just think people become aware of certain things in their own life because they see the positive changes that you've made and the dedication that you have to certain things. And we want that in our life. And so it's like we just start confessing all of our issues because,
Jay. Yeah, and that's another thing in this book, is because when we meet these kind of like type A people, like how I am, I'm very like go go go, very driven, very goal oriented. A lot of times, somebody like me will come across as being like I'm trying to be perfect, and it's
yeah,
not about perfection because believe me, I mess up moment to moment, day to day on whatever different things, especially what comes out of my mouth because I can have a potty mouth and I can be not so nice to people because I hold myself at such a high expectation. I
yeah,
project it on to other people. And so I'm just like, why'd you have to eat the cookie?
yeah,
I'm like, it's just, or why aren't you in yoga classes? Like, you need to get up and get into class and move your body. Don't get
right.
so they think I'm like preaching, like I'm so perfect. But I'm like, no, it's not about being perfect. It's about being the best you every day, showing
Yeah,
up for yourself. And maybe you being in that place is there, you're there to encourage somebody else that's struggling. Like you,
yeah,
so then if you don't go, that's a missed opportunity.
yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I think too that like I love David Goggins and his writings, and I don't know if you ever heard of him, but it's it's so good. He was a Navy SEAL, and anyway, his story many people have heard about it, but yeah, he's good. You would really like his stuff.
Mhm.
His first book is called "You Can't Hurt Me," I think, and he talks about how his past as a child and the things he went through as a child, and the dysfunction, and kind of similar to what we all have some dysfunction, some more than others or whatever. But he just kind of walks through these decisions that ended up and all of a sudden as he was overweight and he had made bad choices. He was working for a pest control company, and he just he made the decision, I want to be a Navy SEAL. I mean, so he goes from this deal and he wanted to join that and get involved anyway. But he did all that, and now he's just he's like you. He's like, look, he's just so challenging to people,
Mhm.
and he's made a huge, obviously a complete turnaround in his life overall. But so sometimes people look at his life and think, well, you're just a freak, you just, and he's like, no, don't put that on me.
Yeah.
He said, everybody has the same choice. Everybody has the same opportunity. And we all have the ability to make that change.
Mhm.
And I think that's someone like you that's in that's seen what can happen. It comes across as, maybe being, whatever, but it's really passion for people's lives to change and for them to experience, what you've experienced in that. And I think the other thing about it, just with is continuous knowing you, is that you're always open to there's certain areas of your life that okay, I need to keep working on these things. So you're looking for those areas as well.
Mhm.
And not just the physical, but the mental, the relational, the spiritual, the emotional, dealing with our past, dealing with our issues, being aware of all that stuff and having those conversations. And even earlier, you was like, hey, you know what? I'm thinking that I still do this. I still worry too much about what, people think or whatever the case may be. It's always in that pattern. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think
Oh,
that's important.
yeah, because I can get like wrapped up in that. When I start trying to seek out yoga clients or personal training clients or whatever, I can get wrapped up. And again, I just think it's the flesh. And I almost think that our flesh is just like almost like the devil, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's our temptation or whatever. But I don't look at it as just like in sexual things. I think for me, it's been getting trapped in my head and trying to control and take over when
Mm-hmm.
I just need to release that control, because honestly, we control is like a facade. We have no control
Right.
over anything other than our reactions to things. So just trying to remember that and trying to make my reactions, you know, just give grace with my reactions, whether I think they deserve it or not. It's just like, God gives me grace, and who am I to not extend that to everybody else, no matter how horrible I think they are, you know? So I'm like, okay, Lord, just please take over. It's
Yeah.
hard for me to relinquish that control, but I do find more peace in it when I'm like, please God, bring me the people that need me, that are ready for that, and just keep the other people away that will try to bring that Holy Spirit, uh, I don't know, the Holy Spirit that takes over in the classes. If anybody is going to like not mesh with that, just please keep them away, because I don't want to have
Yeah.
to filter myself and be like, oh, if I say God in class, is this person going to be upset? If
Yeah.
if I ask them to pray, ooh, is that going to be offensive? Because I'm like, no, I want to be authentically me, and I want God to reflect out of my words and my actions, even though that doesn't happen all the time. I'm
Yeah.
working on it.
No, I totally get it. And I think, like, they say that, um, like the fruit of the spirit, or whatever, is
Mhm.
love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self control. And those are the things we want to exhibit.
Mhm.
And those are the things we want to receive. And we want to be in an environment that, and especially like in your yoga class, you want that to be the kind of atmosphere that you create. And so we're looking for that. And people want that because all those elements are what are needed to become the complete person that we were intended to be, from the beginning,
Yeah.
and they're all components. And so it's so funny you said that too, because, and I want people to hear how you kind of got into yoga and, transitioning after you begin to have your sight back.
Mhm.
But, because you said that about, you don't want to using the word God in yoga, but there are people that actually would say the exact opposite. They come from more religious still. They say, well, you can't, yoga's, no, you can't do that. That's not, but and obviously I'm kind of leading you into something that I guess we can talk about as we get toward the end of it.
Yeah.
But the exact opposite is true. They're
Yeah.
like, well, you're not supposed to, yoga is all about, well, they don't believe that you could
Well,
be
it's anti.
spiritual and do yoga.
Yeah.
Do what?
They'll say it's anti-Christian.
Yeah, yeah,
Yoga
yeah.
is.
Maybe we can
Yeah.
get to that. Let's close out with that. But I
Okay.
definitely want to hear how you kind of got into the pattern that you're in now. Obviously, you started changing your diet with with the gluten and stuff. But
Yeah.
how did yoga even come into your life and this whole physical side?
Well, so I love Chevelle. It's my favorite group. And so when God was speaking to me, I would listen to Chevelle, and it's crazy how, again, God works through different things and people. And then I mean, they didn't know that God worked with me through that. But the words, the lyrics were just lifting my spirit. And so I started looking them up to see, are these people Christian, all this stuff. And then because I just felt God talking through those words, I was like, this guy's got to be a Christian. And so it took me to Renata Loeffler, who is a dietitian. That's Pete, the singer's wife. So I got up on the phone and called her up. I'm like, hey, can you help me? And she's like, yeah, I can
Wait a
do.
minute. So you called the lead singer of Chevelle's wife?
Yeah, yeah, because why not? I mean, I was like, this is what God.
I love it. Yeah, I love that. That's a great. And I know how much you love Chevelle because we went and saw him in concert with you guys.
Yeah, so
Sorry.
I
So you called his wife and
yeah,
she answered.
I hired her for a month, and she taught me the difference between a processed food and a not processed food. It seems so ignorant to not know that, and so like, hello, this is a processed food. But again, the way as a diabetic, I was taught from dietitians is when you're cooking or making your meals, uh, Mrs. Baird's wheat bread is the option, not the white bread. Lean cuisine is a good choice, not, but and so that was healthy. If it said lean cuisine, if it said no sugar added. Um, and so she's like, pretty much anything in a package, we need to get rid of it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so, and I'd already started to do certain things going gluten free, but I would just look at containers that said gluten free crackers or gluten free bread or whatever. So she pretty much taught me eat whole foods in their true form, not a potato chip, but a potato, stuff like that. Um,
Right.
and then so she was just cutting away at the diet, teaching me, giving me different people to follow to get recipes. And she goes, "Now you need to move." And I'm like, "Oh, what do you mean?" Start walking. And so I couldn't even walk halfway down my driveway. I would walk halfway down my driveway and back, and my legs would itch because my circulation was so bad. And I'd just be like, just winded. Like that's how unhealthy I had gotten. And so every day she would be like, "You need to move. You need to move. I think you need to do yoga. I think that would be so helpful." I'm not doing yoga. That's for old people, because we have these preconceived notions about what things are.
Yeah.
So then that's when I started to go to Tracy's training, and I started to do classes. Like I was walking first. I would go, finally got to where I could go up and down the street, which is about a mile. Then I started doing the group classes. And some of the ladies there would say, "You need to do yoga," because we would do a yoga class. And I guess they thought I was good at it or something. I don't know. But again, I was just like, whatever. Um, so anyway, I guess I just decided, okay, I'm going to do yoga. And I went and got my certifications. But it took me going to Dallas to do a true yoga class, because the stuff they had here in Forney, it was like they watched a video, they memorized it, and then they performed it, but they didn't teach it. So when I went to an actual class that they taught that connection of mind and body, then spirit just automatically took over, and it just made me feel so good. So then that's when I got my certifications and decided to start doing divinity yoga.
That's crazy. I never knew that. So really, when you met Donna, you had really just kind of started.
Oh yeah,
I
I
mean,
was new. Mohawk and all was new.
really, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
because like I'd lost 30 pounds and I felt just kind of spicy, like I want something
Yeah.
fun. So I did the little faux hawk thing and started going up
Well,
there
and
to classes.
what I love too is like it's that's stunning to me. Yeah, because if you're listening to this, I mean, Jessica's in. I mean, you would never think like when you said that about I could barely walk halfway down my driveway. That seems it's so foreign to me because knowing you now, that's I mean, you're so far removed from that place. But I think anybody listening, and even myself, I'm sitting there going, okay, because I have these, I have these thoughts like I know what I need to be doing,
Hmm.
and so that's choice.
Yeah.
But now knowing what you're capable of and what you do and how much you do physically, I mean there's some pictures here, and even like this is you and Curtis, right? So I mean is Curtis has been all in with you from the beginning of this thing. I mean, I know y'all, nobody's perfect, right? Everybody has their issues. I mean, you've seen mine and Donna's, you've seen that side of our life. I've seen that side of y'all's life.
Oh,
So
never.
we all have our, no, absolutely. I remember a moment that I was out in the garage. I won't, the dogs needed to be let out, but we won't go there. But, but I love this. And for you guys that are listening, there's a picture of Jessica's doing a handstand and doing her yoga thing, and Curtis is doing downward dog. And um, you're so far removed from that life. I mean, um, like even this, and it's just cool. So you started. teaching, yoga there, I guess, at the facility. But when did you move it into your home? Because basically, y'all turned is that your garage? You turned into a
Used to
yoga
be
studio?
English. Yeah, so when I was teaching classes at Tracy's, I had no certifications.
Okay.
I didn't feel comfortable doing that because I'm like, I could hurt somebody and not because
Yeah.
I understand the dynamics of the body and how it moves. And, I wanted to, if I'm going to do something, I want to do it 110%. I want to do it the right way because I want to
Yeah.
help people, not hurt people. So then once I got my certification, uh, there was a lot of drama that was happening up there. So I I wanted a place. Okay, so this is crazy. So that I met Tracy and everything, and I just saw how cliquish a lot of the people were in these fitness classes. I
Yeah.
see it at the gym when I go. And I think it's just human nature, especially with women. And so I wanted women that are older, women that are thin, women that are obese, women that have no hair. I wanted all women to find a community, not just a place to work out, but a community that they felt accepted as they are, where they're at, that they felt appreciated where they were, and that we could, again, develop that community of lifting each other up, of showing each other, love, compassion, grace. And I wasn't finding it in these group fitness places. So I was like, why
Well,
not create it?
that's amazing. And I don't know if you have that written down or not, but that's, I mean, what a great mission statement. I mean, that what you just spoke out. I mean, that's, and here's the fun thing about it, just knowing you. I think all of us need that mission, some mission statement like that in our life. Where we have that community, where we have that connection, but to know that that's how divinity, your yoga, um, was born, was with that mission.
Mhm.
To me is awesome. I mean, that's incredible, Jessica. I love it.
Yep. So that was how I started. And then I met, like you said, I met Donna up at, because Tracy brought Donna to the group fitness classes. And then when she found out that I was not going to be up there, but I was going to start my own thing, she was all in. She had her
Yeah,
mat, she had her gloves, she had it all. She was ready to start. Well, because I remember she would do some of the classes up at Tracy's, and she's like, they're fine, whatever. She goes, but when I did that first yoga class, she's like, I just loved it. My body loved it. It made me feel good. It made me feel strong.
yeah,
Of course, she loves to stretch. Um,
right.
so, and she's like, and I wanted to stick with it. Everything else, I was just, a couple months, I'm burnt out, I'm done. But, and Tracy said the same thing. Like, it's the only thing I've been able to like stick with. But I'll sometimes wonder, is it have so much to do with the yoga part, or is it the community we've built?
Yeah,
It's a combination of all of it, you know? Because now I don't just do yoga, I do fitness. Like I throw in weights because I'm learning as we age, we need to add weights in there to help strengthen the bones, boost the metabolism. And also it helps to reach a whole different avenue of people that may think yoga is anti-Christian, but fitness I can do. Or I'm not very flexible, I can't do yoga, because I'll never in a million years convince them you do yoga because you're not flexible, not because you are flexible. Because everybody, we
yeah,
all need to be good at what we do. And if we're kind of awkward and don't feel like we look pretty, then we're not going to do it.
yeah. Well, and I think too, I was looking for. I mean, people if they don't follow you, which most people, many people here, and like I said, who knows who's going to listen to this, but they should follow you on, as far as on. I'm going to put it up here. It's Divinity Yoga. Is I guess on Facebook and Instagram is the same thing, right? Divinity Yoga.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we'll put that. But I want to share my screen because kind of alluding to what you're talking about. I'm going to share this here. Let me get to it. So this is and this is I don't know what is this a Halloween party or what is this? I can't remember.
Yeah, that was not this last year, but the year before. It was a Halloween yoga class.
Right. And there's not just this. If you go to Jessica's, if you go to Divinity Yoga on her Facebook or on her Instagram, you're going to see pictures like this of exactly what you just talked about. It's like people coming together, finding community. And what I love about what you do in your class, and what you share in your class, is that you always, as you're going through me and yoga terminology are not very good. I don't do very good, but poses and all that stuff, you always, you know, when I've come, and so let's get this clear. I don't, I don't come as like very often. So, but when I've been there, you always make the statement: look, don't be harsh on yourself. Or yeah, I don't know exactly you say it, but basically, it's okay wherever you are. That's where you are. It's okay, and that's fine because you've made the decision to be here. You're in this moment, and so don't beat yourself up. Basically, is what you say. You say it a lot better than I'm saying it right now, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
What do you say, Jessica? I forget.
I just tell people, stay on your mat. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter what anybody else in the room is doing. We are doing what we're able to do in this time, in this moment. And that's exactly what we need to be doing.
yeah,
Because we can look, oh my gosh, look, she's touching her toes, or she's in a handstand, or, or whatever it is. And then we're not experiencing what we need to be experiencing in that moment on our mat, and just being thankful for this moment, being thankful for our body. Because we just, again, we're all so hard on it. Oh, I can't do this. My body doesn't do this. I have high blood pressure. I can't. But instead of rejoicing and finding gratitude for the blessings that this body, this life, and each moment is. And so, and that's what God has taught me through the yoga practice. And then
yeah,
that's spilled over into other things.
yeah. And I'm a firm believer in, um, just hearing how your story lined up, and how you came to this place, and you found this, from first of all, you pursued it. I mean, you called Chevelle's the lead singer of Chevelle's wife, which was awesome, and awesome that she answered. What a huge, I mean, that's great. And then she kind of led you and got, through where you needed to go to get you jump started, and you just have continued to pursue it, and share it. But the mission behind it, which we relate to so much, is the fact that you wanted to be a blessing to people that were going through the same mentality and the same struggles that you went through. And you found this vehicle and this avenue that you've used. And I just think that's beautiful. I'm serious about that mission statement. I don't know if have you written that down? Because you should write that down if you haven't written that down.
Listen to that again, and like write it down. Because sometimes
Yeah.
I say stuff and it just comes again from spirit. And
Yeah.
and then I'm like, what did I say? Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Really dumb. Why did I say that?
No, I totally relate. And I think anybody listening can relate to that, because we come to moments in time where we're saying things to people in a moment that we're like, and that's not us. That's
Mhm.
bigger than us.
Yeah.
And that's a divine God moment, in my opinion, as we've talked about, that we share something that is supernatural or spiritual, and it makes an impact, and it's at the right moment at the right time, and it makes a huge impact, just like you've shared over the course of your journey, whether it was your grandmother or Chevelle's wife, or um, and I'm sure you could tell me other people as well that have made the impact into your life, and you
Hmm.
just have translated that into other people's lives too. And I think too, what would you say to people, because this is something that is a point of contention in many people's lives, which you know, you know, I don't give a crap because I don't agree,
Hmm.
because I have seen what the side of yoga, and that whole point of how the divine in it, whether it's meditation, and I think what people want to do is they just want to throw the baby out with the bathwater instead of recognizing the bigger picture of what it's all about. Meditation, I
Mhm.
mean, is huge. I believe that Jesus was
Yeah.
big and obviously into that, meditating and praying and focusing on the Father and on, like you've described, who he was. And I mean, he said, I mean, if you know anything, they asked Jesus, what's the greatest commandment? And it was to love Lord your God and then love your neighbor as yourself. But you can't love your neighbor if you don't love yourself and you don't understand that, what the things that you described a while ago. But just kind of, I think, speak to that because it's annoying to me that
Mhm.
people would they don't even know anything about it,
Yeah.
and like I said earlier, anything can be whatever it is, according to what you believe. But when you enter, what I've seen is how um, you combine and you put it together, the whole person, spirit, soul, and body, which Donna, my wife, has been huge into that over the years. That was a big deal to her.
Yeah. So I think again this is God working to mature me even more, because when people would come up to me and say, "Oh my gosh, that's anti-Christian," I would get so mad because I'm like, "You don't know my heart. You don't know me. You know what I mean?"
Right.
But then I started getting on the internet, and there is all kinds of stuff that states, they're conjuring demons and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so the simplest way I can say it is I think it's the intent behind the person that's leading the class. If
100%.
if I and this is what I say, yes, yoga came from Hindu monks, but it is a physical practice that we can also bring our spiritual practices into it, whatever our beliefs, our understandings are. So for me, it's believer of Christ, God. And so that's what it's about for me when I'm presenting the class. Now, am I going around spitting out scriptures and stuff during class? No, I'm talking about your body. All right. So you want to make sure that you're elongating your spine, all those things, but I don't get into religion. Now, sometimes when we're like kind of go into the meditative state, I will, I'll say, think of what you're grateful for, all the blessings that God has bestowed on you. And what people do with that is up to them. Because I'm going to get people that don't believe in God. I'm going to get
Hmm.
people that believe in different gods. Like if I have a Hindu practitioner, now does that mean I'm going to say, no, you can't come in because you're Hindu? You have to be a Christian? No, I'm going to be like Jesus, and I'm going to welcome everybody in, and I'm going to love them
Yeah.
where they're at, right?
Yeah.
Then before I do my class, I say, I go close my eyes. I'm like, Lord, please guide me, my words, my actions. Please put it inside of me, whatever it is that they need to help them. And then I give him thanks because it's already happened. And then when people are like, oh, that was such a great class, I'm like, it was God. It wasn't me. I'm just a vessel. That's it.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so that's how I try to look at it now, because again, I'm not going to try to convince people to come that it's not anti-Christian. I'll explain where I'm coming from, my heart, and that's really, that's all I can say on that.
Yeah. Well, I love it. And it's been, and here's the thing is, and this is probably a whole nother podcast that you could go into, and bring Donna into the situation too, because, you know, w- even in his discussions with people, Jesus made a comment one time that God is spirit, and, we worship, and he makes, there's a person that he's talking to that he says that you believe you can only worship here in this spot,
Hmm.
because of the history of where you come from and your ancestors. But he said there's a time coming where you can do that anywhere. And I believe that what, like creation and the earth and all these things that are available to us, that we were talking earlier today with some friends of ours, and we were just talking about the presence of God and being able to hear his voice. And this morning when I opened my back door, it was like, it was early this morning and it rained here last night, and I opened the door and I could hear the birds singing, and it was just this beautiful sound. And immediately I was connected with the fact that that is creation and that is God. That's who He is. And so many of us and so many people are not aware
Mhm.
of everything around, what's going on, the bigger picture, and we know the who the creator is. Like for me, I believe in that,
Mhm.
but we miss out on so much because we're not aware. We don't just hear it. And I won't, this is as far as I'll go with this, but it's not just about being in a pew or a chair with a person telling us, it's about us hearing ourselves.
Mhm.
And I say that to you because I really appreciate the way, and Donna and I talk about this a lot. Um, and everybody, if I'm referring to Donna, that's my wife. So if you're, in case you don't know that, but we talk about this a lot, how becoming more in touch with things and aware of, of, of all that, because it's creation and it is a presence of, in my opinion, that is God's presence. And, but you do a really good job of that and sharing it. So just to encourage you, it's made a big difference. It's good to have people like that in our lives. And so, and I think anybody listening to this today, can be aware, like you've said, just the path that we go on. And it's difficult at times when we make bad choices and we make, based on whatever information we've got, at that point. But we just continue to press forward, and that's why I titled this thing and just talked about with you. It's not only about changing your life, but it's about changing other people's lives too, and that's what makes it so powerful. So I think that's important.
Yeah,
Anyway,
definitely.
that'd be a whole nother podcast probably to get into all that. You
Yeah.
know, um,
Well, and then, what I was going to say on the yoga part, that's something else that Donna has helped me to kind of pull, because, again, of everybody, oh, it's anti this and that. And so we looked, or she shared scripture, what that was, it was like, starts with a P. It's not, was it Proverbs? She helped me and I put it on my business cards, is all I remember. But it says
yeah,
something about taking care of your temple, right?
yeah,
This is, even though we're not worshiping this, we do have to take care of it. And why do we have to take care of it? Because this can get in the way of connecting to God. Because again,
yeah,
God's not up in heaven, God is within, God is all around. And so if I'm closing my eyes and trying to pray and my neck is killing me, or I feel like I'm going to vomit, am I going to hear God's voice? No, I'm going
yeah,
to be worried about whatever that is going on in my body. So we try to be as health. This has to be as healthy as possible. Number one, so we can hear the voice of God. But number two, again, so we can help others, because we're not here just to help ourselves. We are here to lift others up, and we can't do that unless we're strong. Body,
yeah,
mind, spirit, all of it.
yeah. That's so good. That's just good, and it's so true. I mean, 100% true. And I think, um, and whatever word you want to use, I mean, convicting or whatever. Like as I listen to you even now talking, I know that there are things in my life that I need to take care of with my temple because I'm not as aware as I need to be, and I'm not as able as I need to be. Those kind of things. And I do have this cancer diagnosis too. That's kind of a, it's kind of a big deal,
Yeah.
and you don't just let that stuff slip through the cracks.
Yep.
So um, it's important. It should be challenging, and I think that's the deal. Whether it's physical or emotional or spiritual, or relational, all those elements, the whole person
Mhm.
are all important because, like you said, that about the physical side of things, it's also hard for us to hear if we, are emotionally not dealing with our issues,
So,
or mental or whatever the case may be. It all works together, and um, and makes a big difference. And I think you're a great testimony of that, and how it can change so much,
mhm.
in our lives. So that's all. This has been awesome. I love this. This is great, Jessica. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I love what you do. I don't know anything else. I don't want to interrupt or stop it because I'm loving it. Because it's such a powerful thing. Um, so um,
Well,
I
but
don't
I
know.
think also what we go through, because just you talking It's just kind of, you know how you're saying when I'm saying stuff, it's kind of firing up something stuff in your mind,
Right.
your spirit.
Right.
It's kind of like it's like food. Um, is I think when we stop again, we have to learn to put ourselves in other people's shoes. It's
Right.
really easy for me to say, well, that mm-mm-mm, she didn't let me into that, whatever. I'm talking about a specific situation. I'm not going to say it out loud. But like, I do have issues with people. Like, a lot of people don't like me because I am a lot. Like, I'm woo, I'm not going to dilute myself, right? But I come from a place of love and wanting to help. But some people aren't where I'm at. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like, oh, get back. But if I will remember where I was, also remember that people are going through, like you said, issues, spiritual issues, physical issues, financial, whatever it is. I have to give them grace because they're going through something.
Right.
And that doesn't
Right.
mean that they're going to be rainbows and butterflies. Just like I know it's hard to believe, I'm not always rainbows and butterflies
No.
because I've got stuff going on too, right? So
Exactly.
it's just being able to extend, I think, grace. That's what it just
Yeah, I
keeps in
agree.
my head is just grace
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
ourselves. Because if we don't love and give ourselves grace, we can't extend that to anybody else.
Yeah. And we're never, and that's the thing, never stop learning, never stop, never stop being aware of, just in a continual growth mindset that,
Yes.
and I think the awareness of knowing where we're weak and the awareness of listening. And I think that the practice of getting up early and, or whatever, however we design our lives, listening, um, being open to things because there's always something, I know like in mine and Donna's relationship, there's always something that we're working on or something that I need to be aware of that I need to adjust.
Hmm.
Um, but that only comes through being willing to one, be wrong and, that you don't know everything, which, we just talked about. And then, but then continuing in the areas that we are firing in the right cylinders, and just kind of completing that whole picture.
Yep.
Overall because it makes a big difference. And I think the things that are important, am I in a community of people where I can find that type of those relationships, because you've seen it over and over again. People step in, and then they step out,
Mhm.
and that's just what they do. But staying with it, over the course because it's easy to, um, it's easy for us to not listen or say, well, we don't like it. And I think it's not that we don't like for instance, take yoga. Let's say somebody comes to your class, well, I don't like it. And they
Mhm.
may not, and that's fine. Or it may be that they didn't like the way it made them feel. And
Yes.
instead of coming back
Yep.
to press through and to spend time there,
Hmm.
and I can say, I mean, we all have different things that we do, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Um, but even in my own case, and it's like making those decisions, and pressing through the situation
Hmm.
and making the adjustments because ultimately it's going to be better. We're going to be better off for it if we will. And that can even be going to counseling, marriage counseling, or
Yeah.
finding help or whatever, I mean, dealing with our issues and listening to other people. All that to me is what I gained from our conversation today because um, it makes a difference,
Yeah. Definitely.
in our lives. So, well, like I said, I could go on forever, but I can't thank you enough for doing this. And I told you before we started, I'm just thankful. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for being honest. I mean, because anybody listening to this today, and I hopefully share this with other people. I'm going to share this a lot as well because, for a kid that feels isolated and is struggling with not feeling like life's worth living, and even a young adult, um, you just being vulnerable with that. And I know there's so much there that we could have even unpacked, people in your life and,
Hmm.
just all that kind of stuff that kind of led you to where you are, but just the changes and the physical challenges, everything. It's just it's very freakish, Jessica. You freak cast kind of thing.
Oh,
Fighting like a freak. That's kind of what we do. So,
yeah. It's every day. You choose to wake up and, it's like what I say with health. is we have to make we have to make it a priority, because
Right.
make, and I get a lot of moms, women with young children. I don't have time. I have to have this person here at this, and I can't say that I get it because I don't have children to tote around or anything. But it's just like brushing your teeth. You have to designate, this is my time, whatever that time is. It might not be
Yeah.
coming to a yoga class because my times don't work for you, but there's lots of apps that you can use, YouTube videos. If yoga isn't your thing, just taking a walk, carving out that time for yourself. Because I'm always telling my sister, don't be a martyr. You're teaching your kids that that's how their wives should just give up everything and just focus on their kids. I'm like, yes, we have to focus on our family, but we have to be healthy in order to be strong enough to take care of them.
Yeah.
So I think
Right.
it's just carving out those, because, and then I'll say, how long were you on Facebook today? 20 minutes.
Right.
You could have,
Right.
you know what I mean? How
Yeah.
long did you watch TV? And I'm not trying to be ugly, because I like to eat on Facebook. I like to watch TV, but I also have to know when to step away because I have to have
Yeah.
time to do my
Yeah.
physical, and you have to have time for your prayers. And that's something what I'm trying with these Bible studies is I'm trying to fill my brain with scriptures so that I'm meditating on that, and that's all I'm thinking about. And I'm thinking about how that is going to move through my life, and how I'm going to project that to help other people.
Yeah.
Because if I'm filling myself with all this crud on TV, is that what I want to be thinking about when I'm trying to
Yeah.
help people? No. So anyway, that's what my kind of New Year's thing is just trying to dive in and talk to different people, especially Donna. Like today I texted her and I'm like, is there scripture about nature being like bringing us closer to God? Because I
Yeah.
started this book with Sarah, a lady at the gym, and we're both like, I don't know. And I'm like, I was like, Donna is the guru of scriptures. Hold on. And sure enough, she's like, got three. She's like, and I'm like, gracias. And she's like, de nacho. And so I'm like, and so I said, oh,
Yeah.
next time we have to bring Donna. We have to get her to come because any questions we have, Donna will know. And she's like, yeah. So
Well, I feel the same way. It's like I don't know, just feel very fortunate because she is definitely. I think that's the thing. That's the perspective of digging in, having somebody in your life that
yeah.
you can turn, and that's what community does. And I think I love that. First of all, I love that segment. I mean, as far as what you just described and everything you said, because it's so freaking true. I mean, our time, all those sayings and all those quotes, 24 hours a day and how you use them and so many, in a lifetime and that kind of stuff. And you can bemoan the fact of how you've wasted time in the past, or you can say, you know what, so what? Because I feel the same way. Like today's a Saturday that we're doing this,
Mhm.
and I couldn't wait to do it. And it's like when I get done with this, I'm already looking forward to. I want to fill my time with things that are going to, and it's exactly what you said earlier. This passion for people to know the truth, and this format here is just for people that stories need to be told and putting it on something that we can share because
Yeah.
like that last little bit that you shared as well as everything else, but that's so powerful because I think our culture is conditioning people to be stuck in their phones and be stuck. You can sit down in your chair and get onto a thread on Instagram or TikTok or whatever before you know it, 30 minutes have passed by.
Yeah.
And you just and and there may be some really good stuff that you saw, and that's fine. But if that's replacing something like you said so well of replacing time that you could be working on yourself,
Yeah.
and you could be taking care of your body, you could be reading, you could be meditating, you could be studying,
Yep.
that kind of stuff. And then how we share that with other people, that's important too. And once you start doing those things that are healthy and that mean a lot, you start finding that you don't watch as much TV and you
Yeah.
don't spend as much time doing other things because you're focused on things that matter a lot more,
Mhm.
um, at the end of the day. And so But I feel the same way about Donna because I'm just, throwing questions at her all the time. I can't wait. I'm going to have her on here really soon. I need to have her on here multiple times
Hmm.
because there's so many, obviously 32 years of marriage. There's so much we could talk about.
I bet.
Some of it's not very pleasant, but
But that's good.
um, yeah, I think that's what I'm looking, and we're going to have those conversations, just that way people can see, um, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Because it all matters.
Yeah. Well,
So,
because our mistakes are what, we can just dwell, I'm in a mistake, or we can learn from it and grow from it.
right,
Mm.
right.
And like for me, I never claim to be perfect. I'm far, far from perfect. I
Yeah,
make mistakes all the time. I can say mean things to poor Curtis. I love him more than anything else, besides God. But I'm human, and
yeah,
it's kind of remembering we're only human. We make mistakes, but it's okay. We
right.
learn, we move on. We try not to keep making those same mistakes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's the truth. Well, all right. Well, listen, thank you so much for doing this, Jessica. It means a lot, and I have thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been so good for me. I can't wait for other people to hear it and, and just download it. And because I believe it can really be a blessing to a lot of people. So thank you for sharing your story with us
Thank you.
on the Freakcast. So I'm contemplating coming back to yoga. We'll see.
You can't touch my toes. You're too hard on yourself.
Do what?
You're too hard on yourself as well. Because
Yeah,
I
I am.
telling
Yeah.
John, I was like, he just has to realize that he's not going to touch his toes. He may never touch his toes. That's okay. That's why they make straps.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You're all,
Well, and definitely,
Anna, she's
yeah,
touching her toe. How does she do that? I'm like, you're two different people.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
It's your
yeah,
thumb.
exactly. I love that. I want to check that book out because that's exactly right. So, all right. Oh yeah, there. Is that it?
Mm-hmm. I got on
The
Amazon.
divine.
I'm writing in it, but you're welcome to have it when I'm done.
No, I think I'm gonna get it and listen to. I like to because I drive so much,
Oh,
Ubering and all that
well,
stuff.
they didn't
I
have
like
it.
to listen to them.
They didn't have it on Kindle, so I don't know if they have it on auto. What did you say? Auto tune?
It's audio books.
Yeah, they might.
What's yeah? I'm gonna look and see. So
See, I can't do that because I fall asleep. I'll
yeah,
listen.
yeah, I like it. All right. Well, listen. Thanks again, and maybe we'll get back on here and do some others that earthy stuff. That'd be fun to talk about too.
Earthy.
So
Okay.
the earthy. All right. Well, all right. We'll talk to you later. Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right. All right. Bye. All right. There she was, Jessica Winchester. What a great discussion that was. What a great deal. So make sure. Hey, listen. Follow her. A lot of good stuff. If you follow her, it's Divinity Yoga. If you're listening to us, Divinity Yoga on Facebook or Instagram. And if you were anywhere local in the area, you should definitely sign up for her classes. She does a great job. And if you're in the Dallas area, it's worth it. So look her up and join in um, with what she's doing. Hey, thanks for joining in. What a great discussion. And again, I was talking to Brian Johnson, who we had Tracy Johnson, his wife, on a few weeks ago. And actually, Tracy has started a Facebook page that I'm going to be sharing just about her journey as well. But we were talking, and in our discussion, he was just saying, how thankful he was that Tracy had the opportunity to share her story in a forum because so many stories need to be told. And y'all, that's the passion for the Freakcast, is letting people that might not otherwise have a chance to get their story out and just to be able to share it. And so please share this with other people. There's so many great stories. As I think about all the interviews that I've been blessed to do over the past, 12, 13 episodes, it has made such a difference in my life. And I know it would make a difference in other people's lives too. So, anyway, we're just going to trust that, throw it out into the atmosphere and see how God uses it, because I think every story matters. I know every story matters, and and they're all important. So, hey, we're going to take you out of here. Let's stay true to whatever it is that you believe that you have been encouraged to do, And join it back in. We're going to have another episode coming up here tomorrow, actually. We're going to air it with my friend Brian Smith, Brian and Patty, and they incredible story. I don't want to get into it now, but I hope you'll join in and listen to that as well. Until then, hey, thanks again. We'll talk to you next time.
There's no air in this room. I'm somewhere lost my